And that's why if I had to choose, I would definitely keep my Switch case over you. You don't see the problem with that, do you? Those are definitely tougher choices. Welcome everyone, this is On His Restart, and this time, of course, because we got the Minecraft Steve content, and by the time you're watching this video, it should be available, there's a whole bunch of new Smash information that's changing our perspective a little bit about what's to come in the future with the rest of the DLC. So in this video, we're going to be going into our new predictions for Fires Pass Volume 2 on the final 4 characters. Now before we jump into things, I want to quickly talk about my social media. There's a Twitter page, a Discord community, a Patron page, and a Twitch channel. If you are interested in any of that, check it all out. It's linked in the description below. And of course, if you like what you're seeing here, subscribe. So lately, with all my different Smash DLC speculation videos, I've tried to put out the disclaimer that my predictions may not be true. With most people's predictions, most of the time, they will not be true, at least not most of them. That's pretty hard, it's pretty much impossible in my opinion, or almost impossible. So my first prediction is that not all of my predictions are going to be correct. Could I maybe get a few correct? I think so. I think there's a decent chance I will, but there are some others that I think are really hard to guess because there are so many possibilities. We don't know exactly what Nintendo and Sakurai have been working on and the different third-party developers that may be involved. There are just way too many options. So I'm going to give you guys my thoughts, different characters I think may or may not be happening. There will be a list by the end of this video of my final 4 characters of what I think may be happening, or at least things that I think are plausible. But of course, if you guys have different ideas or other perspectives on what may be happening, let me know in the comments below. Now before we get into specifically what characters I think we can maybe see, I want to talk about some things that are sort of shaping my opinions here. So with the Minecraft content that's coming in, the Mii costumes, some things have changed a little bit. First, we are getting another Microsoft rep. That's big. I didn't expect to see 2 Microsoft reps in the DLC for Smash Ultimate. I feel like that's a little, well, crazy because Microsoft is sort of a direct-ish competitor with Nintendo, and we are now getting 2 Microsoft reps for the DLC. Banjo and Kazooie, which was revealed for the first Fighters Pass, and now Minecraft Steve in the second Fighters Pass. So to me, that suggests that there's some serious potential for the other characters as well. There could be some crazy, unprecedented third-party relations that may mean something huge potentially. And it also suggests that if we got something from a publisher in Fire Pass 1, that doesn't mean we can't see another character from that publisher in Fire Pass Volume 2, as we've gone with these 2 different Microsoft characters. Another tidbit we got from this Minecraft deluge of information for Smash Brothers was that this character's been in the conversation, in the talks to be made for years. It's been 5 years since they started talking about Minecraft Steve coming to Smash Brothers. So this has been in the works for a very long time, and I think that sort of suggests that whatever sort of rumors we may have gotten in the past, if those rumors were based off real information, if it was a quote-unquote leak, then maybe those characters could still be happening. Characters like Ryu Hayabusa or Doom Guy. I think it's worth noting that back when Minecraft Steve was heavily rumored, he was rumored alongside Hero, who we also got, but also alongside Doom Guy and Ryu Hayabusa. And Ryu Hayabusa was leaked by some people who have pretty good track records. We've talked about on the channel, on the podcast. Shifty, for example, was brought up in the past, but that didn't turn out to be the case. It may have been leak bait, it may have been cancelled, those plans may have changed, or maybe it was simply the case of this character taking longer to come. So I'm just saying that with Minecraft Steve, the chances for Ryu Hayabusa and Doom Guy also go up a little bit, so that's something we should take into consideration, I think. And then looking at the Mii costumes we got, we saw an assist trophy get promoted to a playable Mii costume, an enhanced Mii costume that uses the same model, or basically the same model, as the assist trophy. There are only a few Mii costumes that have like those enhanced, more detailed models that aren't Mii's with costumes, but actually the character. Bomberman has turned out to be another one, so maybe we could see a few other assist trophies be promoted in that way. That would be a nice way to give these assist trophies a little bit more love when there's a lot of this fan demand for them, without having them being made into a fully playable character and saving something even bigger for that. And then the other thing is Travis Touchdown is a Mii costume now, so that kind of takes him out of the running for the DLC this time around. Now, I'm not trying to say that Mii costumes for sure deconfirm a character's chances of ever making it into the DLC. The timing is what really matters here. If they're giving us a Mii costume for Travis Touchdown now, during this Fighters Pass, I don't think they're gonna come back a few months from now and announce Travis Touchdown as a playable character. They wouldn't do that. Maybe the Travis Touchdown was already a Mii costume for the base game of Smash Ultimate, then I would think that maybe there's still a chance we could see him as a playable character sometime during the DLC, but because we're getting him now so late into the game, I don't think there are any current plans to add Travis Touchdown for this Fighters Pass, so I don't think he's happening anymore. But taking all that into consideration, how does this impact my predictions? Well, again, I don't really want to say these are clear-cut, hard predictions because there's so many options here, but I'll just go ahead and start telling you which characters I think could maybe be happening. So firstly, I still think Rex and Pyra could very well be happening. Considering that we got Min Min from ARMS, I really feel like that actually strengthens the argument for Rex and Pyra as well. Both ARMS and Xenoblade Chronicles 2 came out in 2017 for the Nintendo Switch, and when we got the final Smash Direct right before Smash Bros. Came out, Sakurai told us that the reason Rex didn't make it into the base game as a playable character was because of time constraints, because it was just way too late for it to happen. And ARMS actually came out before Xenoblade Chronicles 2 in 2017. So if they weren't able to put in the ARMS character and the Xenoblade 2 character because of time constraints, but now with the DLC they are, it makes sense to do the ARMS character first, and then a little bit later into the DLC, we see the next game that was featured on the Nintendo Switch in 2017, and that was Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and I really feel like there's some serious potential for Rex and Pyra. There's a lot of fan demand there, and just looking at the characters we've gotten for the DLC, yes, there's been a lot of big third-party characters, but there's also been a few Nintendo characters as well, and I do think, based off the characters we've been getting, there's been a lot of fan demand for some of these characters like Minecraft Steve, like Banjo-Kazooie, like Hero, like Min Min. I think they are paying attention, and while there is definitely a lot of marketing involved here, a lot of really big third-party partnerships here, they're also paying attention to what the fans want to some extent. And the fans want Rex and Pyra. They are one of the most wanted characters for this DLC, so I definitely think there's a strong chance they could be happening. Sakurai wanted them in the game, so I think they are still happening. Now, some of you may argue that, well, maybe there's going to be mostly third-party characters in this Fighters Pass. We already got Min Min, why should there be more? And I think, that's a possibility. There may just be all third-party characters moving forward, but I really don't think that's going to be the case. This is a Nintendo fighting game, so I feel like it makes sense to have the Nintendo characters. Of course, there aren't that many really big major Nintendo characters left, but Rex and Pyra are one of the few remaining that would make a lot of sense. But on the note of how many first or third party characters we could see in this DLC, kind of hard to predict, but if I'm gonna guess, at this point I'm gonna say that it's gonna be 3 and 3. We got Min Min, a first party character, and then we got Minecraft Steve, a third party character. There are 4 characters left, and I feel really confident about Rex and Pyra. So if that's the case, then we have 1 more potential first party character and 2 more third party characters. That ratio may not turn out to be the case, but that's what I'm going to be going with my predictions here, so we shall see how things actually turn out, for sure. But to keep things even, let's now speculate about the next potential third-party character. So, looking at Mii costumes that have not come out yet that were on Smash for Wii U and 3DS, we have the Chocobo hat, we have Geno, we have Lloyd, and we have the Monster Hunter outfits. And throughout the different challenger packs for the DLC lifecycle of Smash Bros., we've been getting a lot of different Mii costumes from Smash for Wii and 3DS that weren't in the base game. It seems that by the end of Fighters Pass Volume 2, all the Mii costumes will have been released or addressed to some capacity. What I'm implying here is that all these Mii costumes will come, but maybe 1 or 2 of them are actually characters instead. So yes, I'll talk about Geno now. I think there is a chance that Geno could happen. Maybe. It kind of goes along with what I was talking about with Rex and Pyra. He's one of those characters that fans have been demanding for. If they were to add Geno, that would be Nintendo and Sakurai and Square working together to appease the fan base. It wouldn't really be that big of a marketing move, at least in terms of hyping up or advertising a new game. but at the same time, you could argue that the amount of excitement that would happen by Geno being added would just create a lot of conversation about Smash Brothers, and that could be marketing enough right there, so they may not need for this character to be a part of a big new game that's around the corner. So it wouldn't shock me if Geno is one of the characters for Fire Pass Volume 2, but at this point, I'm starting to feel like he won't be a playable character, and I hope I'm wrong. I really do, because I've been wanting this character for a very long time. I've been predicting this character for a very long time, but at this stage, I feel like it's not going to be that. I think what we're going to get is a Mii costume of Geno, but it's not just going to be a basic Mii costume, it's going to be one of the enhanced Mii costumes where it's not just accessories placed on a Mii, but actually the character model, and maybe we get some music from Super Mario RPG added as well. I could see something like that happening. Considering how old Super Mario RPG is and how big of a character Geno is, he's not that big of a character compared to a lot of the other characters in the DLC, I think it might make more sense for him to be a Mii costume. He kind of matches up more with some of the other enhanced Mii costumes. His legacy is more comparable to those characters as opposed to characters like Minecraft Steve, for example. So maybe that's what's in store for Geno. So if the next third-party DLC character is not Geno, who else could be an option? Well, there is a slew of options. It's really hard to say for sure who that character may end up being, but one character that I have in mind that could very well be the case would be a Monster Hunter character. Now hear me out. I understand that we already got the Rathalos Boss Assist trophy, and considering what Monster Hunter is, the focus is on hunting the monsters. That's what the gameplay is about. That's not really about the protagonist or the avatar. It made more sense to focus on a Boss Assist trophy. I definitely agree with that. But considering how we got 2 Microsoft characters in the DLC, it wouldn't shock me if we get some more Capcom content for Smash Bros. Ultimate with another character from Monster Hunter, especially considering that Monster Hunter Rise is coming out to close out the fiscal year for the Nintendo Switch. Nintendo allowed Capcom to have a Monster Hunter Direct. That's a third-party game having a game-specific Direct. That's pretty rare. And a lot of people, myself included, are of the impression that Monster Hunter Rise could end up being the best-selling third-party game on Switch, or at least one of them. This is a really big deal, a really big game, and it wouldn't be the first time Nintendo used Smash Bros. To help market a big third-party game. A great example, actually, is Hero. Hero was definitely used to help market Dragon Quest XI's, which came out around the same time as the Nintendo Switch Lite. Now this is where things get a little interesting. There are a lot of reports talking about a Switch revision coming out next year. Nintendo likes to have a lot of games to come out to support revisions or hardware launches. They had a big third-party game, Dragon Quest XI's, and a Zelda remake, Link's Awakening, come out in September to help support the Switch Lite's launch. We are getting a lot of reports about a Switch revision coming out early next year, but also reports talking about a whole bunch of games coming out next year, and Monster Hunter Rise is coming up to close the fiscal year. Is it possible that Nintendo has something else planned for the fiscal year? Maybe they have a Switch revision planned. Maybe they have a Zelda remaster or remake planned for the Zelda anniversary, which is in February, and they could all come out around the same time. That could maybe be happening. Now the reason this is all relevant is because it sort of ties into what Nintendo did with Hero and Dragon Quest XI's. They marketed that all together alongside the Switch Lite. I think something similar could happen with Monster Hunter Rise, a Switch Plus or Pro or whatever it's going to be called, and maybe even a Monster Hunter character in Smash Ultimate. But let's go back to what I talked about earlier about the Rathalos thing making sense because Monster Hunter is about the monsters, not the protagonist. The thing is, in Monster Hunter Rise, the character has dialogue, he seems to have a bit of personality. It almost looks like there's a bit more of a narrative going on here. Not only that, considering what we're seeing with the gameplay of Monster Hunter Rise and the wire bug, there seems like there's a lot more moveset options here, something that could be really fun to see in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And considering there's a couple pairs of Monster Hunter Mii costumes that haven't released yet, maybe they are saving those Mii costumes to come out with a Monster Hunter Rise Challenger Pack. To me, that makes a lot of sense. I think it could very well be happening. There's a lot of other options to be sure, but in terms of what Nintendo is pushing right now for big third-party games, Monster Hunter Rise is it. Question now is if Nintendo's going to also use Smash Bros. To help market that as well. Now, as for another potential first-party Nintendo character, I think maybe it could be a Zelda character. Firstly, Breath of the Wild 2 is coming out probably next year. This holiday we're getting Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, and Zelda's 35th anniversary is coming up as well this February. And we've even seen some trademarks suggesting that there could be a whole bunch of merchandising coming out for Zelda's 35th anniversary, similar to what Nintendo has been doing with Mario. And of course, there have been rumors and listings of a Skyward Sword HD. It seems that all signs are pointing to some sort of big Zelda celebration. It wouldn't shock me if Nintendo did something with Smash Bros. To help celebrate Zelda as well. There's definitely a strong demand for more Zelda characters in Smash Bros. Right now, it's just variations of Link and Zelda, and then Ganondorf. There's definitely room to have another character that isn't one of those three in Smash Bros. And right now with Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, there's a character that I think makes a lot of sense, and the character is Impa. Now the interesting thing about Impa is that yes, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity is really making this design, this iteration of Impa very popular, but Impa has been a recurring, popular Zelda character throughout the different games, and that's what makes her special compared to a whole bunch of other potential characters from Zelda to make into Smash Bros. Girahim, Skull Kid, these are characters that yes, fans have really wanted and are really cool, but they were one-off characters that were only in one game. In terms of big deal recurring characters like Link, Zelda, and Ganondorf, the other big one is Impa. So here we have Age of Calamity building out an entire awesome new moveset for Impa, and yes, Impa's design is based off Pyra, but I actually think that sort of strengthens things here a little bit because Pyra is in the future. Breath of the Wild 2 is coming out next year. And if you look at the story for Breath of the Wild, there are some implications that the successors and or the descendants of the champions would have some development and potentially maybe rival what they could do in the future. So in Breath of the Wild 2, we may see new champions, or at least these characters take a role similar to the champions. And looking at Age of Calamity, it wasn't just the champions that were a big deal, but also Impa. So considering how Impa and Pyra look the same, and how there may be a theme of successors to the warriors of the past taking up a larger role in Breath of the Wild 2, Pyra may also end up seeming a little bit like Impa. So the point I'm getting at here is that to help push both Age of Calamity, the Zelda Anniversary, and Breath of the Wild 2, Nintendo may add another Zelda character which has been wanted by fans for a very long time, and it could function as both Impa and Pyra because they are the same character model, just slightly different colors, and that will be very easy for Sakurai to do because there will already be 8 different color alterations for whatever character they pick. So I think it fits really well. But I actually have a counter argument for Impa, even though I want Impa and I think she has a pretty good chance. This design of Impa is being used in Age of Calamity, a game that's being developed by Koei Tecmo. Koei Tecmo hasn't had their own playable character in Smash Bros. Yet. Now maybe you could argue that having Impa in Smash Bros. Will help to push Age of Calamity, and that's something that Koei Tecmo will greatly appreciate. I think, yeah, that definitely makes a lot of sense. But also, going back to what we were talking about earlier, how Minecraft Steve has been rumored for a very long time, and he was rumored alongside Ryu Hayabusa and Doom Guy, maybe Ryu Hayabusa could still happen. Ryu Hayabusa is from Koei Tecmo. So maybe instead of getting Impa as a first-party character, we get Ryu Hayabusa as a third-party character. Now this Ryu Hayabusa, in my opinion, would be something along the lines of what we saw for the Castlevania characters. They would base his character off of his retro design from the NES days and such. And I actually think this character could be really cool and a really fun character. Would I be disappointed that it's not Impa? Yes, but I do think it's a possibility. However, I'm going to side with Impa because, well, I'm going to just say I'm a little bit biased here, even though I think both are really good options. For the sake of these predictions, or at least the imagery in the video, I'm going to put Impa because I still think she has a pretty good chance. And who knows, maybe we get 2 different characters. Maybe we get Ryu Hayabusa as the final third-party character, and Impa as the final first-party character. Both are technically possible. It doesn't have to just be one or the other. It could maybe be both, but if I had to pick, it's one or the other. But we shall see. But just for a brief moment, let's just assume that instead of Impa, we get Ryu Hayabusa. Will we get any more first-party Nintendo characters? I think there's still a chance of that. Some options that come to mind if we don't get Impa would maybe be another Pokemon character, and if it is another Pokemon character, my biggest best bet, I think, is Urshifu, because Urshifu is a big deal in the Isle of Armor DLC, which is being pushed right now by Pokemon Company. And Urshifu, based off the single strike style and the multi-strike style, could have a lot of moveset potential and definitely looks like the kind of character that could fit Smash Brothers. Of course, the character doesn't have to seem like an obvious choice for a Smash character. There are other characters in the DLC that are crazy. Look at Piranha Plant, look at Minecraft Steve. So it could be something completely unexpected, but if I had to predict something, Urshifu makes sense. But there are so many other Nintendo franchises that deserve some love. One of them being Metroid. And I think there will be potentially multiple Metroid games coming out next year. Prime Trilogy, 2D Metroid. Maybe we finally get some actual gameplay reveals for Prime 4 next year, even though I don't think it'll come out next year. Point is, they may start pushing it, and maybe Nintendo will think it'll be a good idea to come out with a Metroid character. And Sylix is a character that hasn't been added to Smash Bros. Yet. His spirit isn't in the game last I checked, and the other hunters are, and he's the most important one. And Sylix is going to be involved in the story for Metroid Prime 4. He's in Prime Trilogy. So I think that if there is any other Metroid character that could happen, Sylix would be it, and next year would be the right time to do it to help push the Metroid franchise because it's been dormant for so long. So if we don't get Impa, I guess my bets are either Sylix from Metroid or Urshifu from Pokemon. But now let's assume that we don't get Ryu Hayabusa and we do get Impa. Then, who do we see for the final third-party character? Well, there are a lot of options. I don't know. There are just way too many options. Maybe it could be Doomguy. Maybe it could be Dante. Maybe it could be Sora. Although I've heard that Sora is something that Nintendo wanted, but it just wasn't going to work out in terms of the deal here. That's another thing to take into consideration here with all these different third-party DLC characters. This is a collaboration. Deals had to be made for this to happen. So while Sora would be a huge deal, that doesn't mean that both sides will be able to come to some sort of agreement. But I will say that if you want to have a big, huge third-party character that rivals Minecraft Steve or Banjo-Kazooie or Hero or Joker, I feel like the next big one is Sora. So that would make a lot of sense, and maybe, you know, that thing is just a rumor and maybe Sora is a character. But if I had to put my money on a particular third-party character being added, well, there's still two other options that I'm not sure about. It's either Rayman or Crash Bandicoot. Now, some people have noted that based off the Mii costumes we've seen from Minecraft, they could very easily put in a Mii costume for Rayman. That's definitely possible, makes a lot of sense. And then for Crash Bandicoot, well, there's been a lot of Crash things happening lately. It wouldn't surprise me if another Crash thing that happens in the future is Crash being added to Smash Brothers, considering that Crash was used to sort of compete against Nintendo from the Sony side of things, when there was even like advertisements or commercials with Crash screaming at Nintendo headquarters with a megaphone. I think it would be kind of poetic to see Crash in Super Smash Bros. Alongside Mario and Sonic. That would just be a really cool thing to see, and that might be a great way to cap off the DLC if Crash Bandicoot ends up being the final character. So for my predictions, even though I think there's a really good chance they could be wrong, I'm going with Rex and Pyra from Xenoblade Chronicles 2, the main character from Monster Hunter Rise, Impa and Pyra from Breath of the Wild and Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, and then Crash Bandicoot. There are a whole bunch of other options to be sure, but those are the predictions I'm going to be going with, and I think if we were to get these characters, it would be pretty well rounded, and most people would be pretty pleased with this lineup for the DLC. But that's what I think could maybe happen. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways, everyone, this is On Just Restart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care.